Okay, so let's start. This is what you have up here are a group of people who are either scientists or engineers, all different kinds of scientists and engineers. And this is going to give you a chance to ask us all the questions you might have about what we do or anything else about science. And we'll probably also have a little fun while we're doing it because sometimes kids don't want to speak up, so we'll start for you. So let's just go around the room. My name is Jack Clemens, and I'm an engineer, a rocket scientist. And I worked on the Apollo space program, and I worked on the space shuttles program. So I can talk a little bit about space and space programs.
I'm Ted Roberts, and I'm a brain scientist. I do research and teaching at a university medical school, and I work with little itty bitty rats and funny, scary monkeys, and I work with people too.
I'm Brent, also known as Evil Penguin. I actually work for him, so whether I'm part of the experiment or actually just a regular employee, we're still trying to figure out. But
Lab equipment. He's lab equipment.
Yeah, I'm. The joke is that I'm lab equipment. So he has to take care of me, otherwise he has to do a lot of paperwork by losing his lab equipment. But so I worked as an engineer doing like software and hardware for custom things before coming and going into science. So I do learning to do what he did, and that's kind of what I do.
I'm Paula Jordan. I have a Bachelor of Science degree. These others are a whole lot better educated than I am. But I have worked designing orbits and launch data for spacecraft for NASA. I supported the GOES spacecraft, the ones that you may see on TV in the weather report. You have to see pictures of the Earth. And a variety of work like that.
I'm Rich Groller. I'm a systems engineer. I'm also a retired Army officer. I was in Army intelligence. And so I've worked designing things like direction finding systems and jammers and electronic warfare equipment, things like that.
My name is Jim Bell. I'm a nuclear engineer as well. I've worked on nuclear submarines. I've been on nuclear surface ships. I have designed, operated, regulated part of construction of nuclear power plants. And I climbed in places where you can't climb in anymore. I climbed in the reactor vessel before they actually put the fuel in it. I climbed through the pipes before they put the water in it. I climbed through places where they had concrete would be there now. There is there now. I've been everywhere you can be in the nuclear power plant. And our technology is fairly simple. In fact, when people start asking us questions, we say, hey, it's not like it's rocket science.
Or brain surgery.
Yeah, but on the other hand, occasionally somebody asks me, what are you, a rocket scientist? I say, actually,
I have a T-shirt that says that.
Yeah, I have one of those too.
Okay, so this is a chance for you to ask questions or hear from us about stuff. Let me start by going around and saying, what does science interest you?
I'm interested in dinosaurs.
Ooh, dinosaurs.
Yeah.
I have dug up dinosaur bones in Montana and Wyoming and Utah as part of with my kid. We would go out and sleep in tents under the stars and be part of a research. I have dug up almost all the dinosaurs you can name.
That's cool. I've been a little bit too, up at the 5,000 foot level of the Chiricahuas, fossil ferns.
8,000 feet
Yeah.
Wyoming.
So why are you interested in dinosaur bones or dinosaurs?
Because there are really some cool facts that I never really knew about dinosaurs.
Like what?
At first I thought the Triceratops was a meat eater, but it's actually a plant eater.
Very good. You're right.
That's right. Herbivore.
And why are some dinosaurs meat eaters and why are some plant eaters?
Because some prefer to eat plants and some prefer to eat meat, and some of them even prefer to eat both, which are called omnivores.
Oh my.
Very good.
Wow, she's good.
You're prepared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we get her up here?
Yes, I think
Does
so.
anybody like to switch? So which dinosaur would you like to meet if you had a chance?
A T-Rex.
A T-Rex.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's pretend that somebody up here is a T-Rex. Who likes to be the T-Rex? Who knows all about the dinosaurs?
Well, I
you
could
just
be a
jumped.
T-Rex. I like kind of like the allosaur because some of the allosaurs got almost as big as the T-Rex. They could use their hands.
Well, how
I
about-
never even knew there was that kind of dinosaur.
Ah, yes.
T-Rex has tiny little hands.
Because it mostly uses its mouth.
It does indeed.
Like a bird.
Any questions for the T-Rex? If you were a T-Rex were to walk up to you right now, what would you ask? If assuming it didn't eat you first.
I have no idea.
Oh, okay. You wouldn't ask it why it was eating what it was. Huh? Okay. So what science are you interested in?
I am mostly interested in like biology, chemistry, and programming, if you could count programming.
Well, certainly you can count programming.
Okay, then I'm mostly interested in those. Like-
And why?
Well, mostly because I just like to figure out how things work and then make them work.
There is a field of biology that's called
I'm
physiology.
sticking my phone back there.
And I studied physiology. And physiology is the science of how the body works, how the human body works. And so a lot of times what you find, you go to a medical school and you go into the laboratories and you'll find a physiologist there who's trying to figure out how the body works, how the body breaks, how you fix it, why it gets sick, how it gets sick, how you make it better and everything like that. So if you like figuring out how things work
And biology.
in biology, then physiology is a good place.
Now, one thing with programming, that can actually be very useful. I just finished up doing 3 months of an experiment on how rats choose between different flavors that they like. And almost the entire time I was doing programming. Because it was programming on how to set up the experiment so that it worked. It's programming on how to collect the data, how to look at the data afterwards, how to figure it out. So most of my time was actually programming, even though I was doing the science.
And what's your name?
Ben.
Banner?
Ben.
Ben. And s-
B-E-N.
Oh, Ben, okay. And so what do you think the programming would be for in your case? What makes you interested in programming?
What makes me interested in programming is like I look at all the things that people make with it, like Google, for example. That was made entirely with programming.
That's true. That's true.
Like, and I'm one of those people who likes video games also. Yes.
You know,
Like-
there's another nexus there, which is if you have some artificial limb, you might have to have programming to make it work right. And you'd have to have the physiology to have it work right as well. So you have to know the biology of how it worked, the physiology how it worked, and the programming how to make it work with the programming. Biomechanics and the entire
That
field.
sounds interesting.
So it looks like anything you're interested in, all the things that you're interested in, you could do maybe one job and do all of them. Now, if you were really interested, you could get somebody who would pay you to do all three. They only pay once, but it wouldn't be a lot of money. Right?
Right.
Right.
Okay, your turn. First of all, your name, because I left Ben's out.
Henry.
Henry. Okay. So what are you interested in?
Stuff.
Well, there's a lot of stuff up here. What kind of
I'm
stuff?
interested in stuff
All
too.
of it.
So.
All of it? How about scientific stuff? Any sciences you like, or any sciences you like?
All of it.
Oh, okay. Well, then that's probably a research job.
Now that sounds like the kind of scientist that comes to a science fiction convention. Because you can't be one of those people that looks at one little problem and only that problem and sit up here and talk with people like this.
Yeah.
So one of the things you find is that the type of scientists you see at a place like this are ones who at some point they're really interested in all of it.
Then science education writing.
Oh
yeah.
Science education writing is where you read about possibly all of it, and then you write and explain it to other people. So you would get paid just find out about everything.
No, you're all wrong. What she's going to be is a field engineer. Because when you go out into the field, you don't know what the problem is.
Well, you have to figure it
When I
out.
was sent sometimes when they had an event at a nuclear power plant, they didn't know what the problem was. And so I would be out with a whole team of people, and we would try to figure out what it was. And I was a generalist. I didn't know anything. I didn't know the depth of knowledge of any of their specialties. But I was supposed to be the guy to help put it all together.
I like to be a rocket scientist.
Well, here you go. You know
Well,
it
of
is.
course. Because then you do know everything.
And I can launch nukes.
Why rocket science? Do you want to be an astronaut?
No.
Okay.
I want to be able to launch a nuke.
You want to launch a nuke?
All right.
Not
Okay, we
quite.
need to hurry your education up here a bit.
This is mad scientist panel.
Yeah, apparently.
Later.
Yeah, ever since I first told you about ribs.
Did you know that someone designed a rocket that would use nuclear bombs to make it work? Huh? It would actually go up in the air and be propelled by nuclear bombs going off behind it.
Oh my God.
Right.
Dad.
We didn't want to stand too close.
No, I didn't be right behind it.
I would.
Yeah. Well, it would be a short life of science for it.
That was a
Well, as long
lie.
as you're on the other side of the spring and the plate, it's not so bad. It's,
Yeah, really. Really. Yes, science can be everything. It can be anything. It can be everything. It's really, it's like what you said. It's just being interested in how things work.
You know, I once heard somebody say that magic is just science we don't understand yet.
Yeah, that's the highlight.
Yes, it is.
Sort of.
It's sort of the other way around.
One man's magic is another man's technology.
And it's science, but it's too advanced for people to understand. It just looks like magic.
Yes.
Basically, yeah.
Or there are people who living on Earth today who don't know much about science. And so when people do science, they think it's magic. They don't understand that the way nature works. And so they believe that scientists do magic tricks.
And of course, it's always possible to the other way around, which is science is just the way magic works. And if we understood magic even better, we could even make the science look neater.
unified field theory.
Yeah.
Okay, you know, nobody really knows which one it is if you ask Matt.
Nobody knows what?
Which way around it is. Like, if science is just magic we don't understand yet, or magic is just science we don't understand yet.
My bet's on science.
Yeah, me too.
I think so too.
So a lot of times when things happen that we don't understand, especially if you haven't studied science, then you can call that magic. But the difference is if you can understand, if you can learn about it, and you can ask questions, and you can figure it out, then it isn't magic. It's just science, because science is the way you discover how things work. If you can't do that, then it probably is magic, and then it's a magic wand, and we don't know how to do that yet.
Cool.
Cool.
One of the cool things is if you find somebody that learns magic, I used to be able to do all sorts of magic where you make the coin disappear and things
I'm
like
doing a
that.
few tricks at home.
One of the things you learn when you start learning those tricks is the show magician, the illusionist, who puts together something really neat. They're taking advantage of science too, you know that?
Yep.
Yeah, because part of what they're taking advantage of is how quickly your eye can move from one thing to another, how your brain is going to be paying attention to the penguin here instead of the little brain ball that's over here. And so they take advantage of all sorts of different science, biology tricks, and what we call psychology as well.
What do you think science is versus magic?
Pretty much the same thing.
You think so?
Have a hand up.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Well, this is something I really wanted to ask about bugs that are bugs. Are there still some bugs and insects that haven't been named?
Probably.
Why don't you take this? Why don't you take that?
So our friend Kathy is an entomologist, and she was working on her master's degree. And they gave her a project. There's a type of bug where she used to live in Tennessee called a springtail. And they thought that there would be a few types of springtails that she could go and name for her master's project. She found so many different variations They had to tell her to stop finding more because it was time for her to graduate. She had definitely found, what was it? She's 16 or 17 that she wasn't finished looking for them, and she had found 16 or 17 brand new types.
And where is this?
In Tennessee.
In Tennessee.
This is in here, United States. This is not in Brazil. This is not the Amazon. This is not the.
And it was on one side of one mountain in one specific national park. And she had, and one of the things that she found is, as you go up the mountain, you get different species. And when you like move closer or farther away from rivers, you get different variations. So she hadn't even finished checking the mountain, and they had to tell her to stop because she found too many to finish describing before she could graduate.
Wow. Would you like to look for new bugs at some point?
It sounds fun.
We've got a lot of mountain left apparently.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's a whole mountain full
And
out
that's
there.
one mountain, that's one side of one mountain in one park.
And this is this name of this person is
Kathy Smith.
Kathy Smith.
She was having trouble figuring out enough names. for
She
them.
was going to be here. She had planned to be here with us, but couldn't do it.
That's pretty cool.
She could answer all of the grade set questions.
She could give you all the names probably too.
That's right. She got to name 6 of those bugs, and she found 16. 10 of them still don't have names. She got to name 6 of them. And there's a publisher downstairs called Bain Books. One of the insects is named Orchicella bainii for Bain Books.
That's the cool thing about getting
She
the
got
name
the
bugs.
name.
Well, and then she was having fun naming some of them. She was going to name, if she could continue naming them, she was going to start naming them after people, but wasn't one of them blue butt and yellow butt?
Yes.
because the difference between one of them is that the very tip of them was that they were blue. So she named that one the blue butt springtail. And then the other one had yellow, so that was the yellow butt springtail. Wasn't the Bane one the one with the, was it the red dots or was it with the Bane?
I think the red dots because of the symbol.
Yeah, I think the red dots become
Yeah.
the Bane one. And so it's all these different variations, so she was naming them.
Yeah, she was having fun.
How
So
about
there's
that?
a lot more out there that haven't been discovered, as
There
well
was,
as not haven't been named.
there was one she was going to name the penguin bug, but that one didn't. She had to stop before she got to that one.
She also wanted to graduate.
Yeah, she did.
She did.
That's so cool. And
She's got a question.
This is a question about dinosaurs. Who was the first person ever to discover a dinosaur fossil?
ooh,
Every time we think we've got the first one, we find that someone has found them before. So we're not really sure right now. We know that some of the first ones in the Western civilization were found in Britain, and they thought they were big lizards. And they began putting the bones together, and they put the bones together wrong, so they got the wrong idea what the thing looked like. So then,
That's where the story of dragons came from.
correct.
Yeah.
Well, it's and but there's stories now that apparently that they were found in many places before. So it's not really clear who found the first one.
Probably as long as there have been people that have been finding dinosaurs.
Remember that there's lots of dinosaur bones out there. There are places you can walk around and the dinosaur bones are just sticking out of the ground. And I've laid beside a shoulder blade of a big dinosaur that was as big as I was. And some of the thigh bones are as big as you. So it's really funny. They're sticking out of the ground in some places, and people have been walking across them. When they went with some of the cowboys, when they were out west, someone had found so many of these bones lying around. They didn't have any trees around, but they had these bones sticking around. So they made basically a cabin out of it. It's called dinosaur cabin. So it's made out of dinosaur bones.
and there's probably as many undiscovered dinosaurs as there are, well, maybe not as many, but there
Well, I'll
are
bet there
thousands
are.
and thousands.
Yeah.
Because
Like there are bugs.
remember, they lived for hundreds and hundreds of millions of years.
Yeah.
So species came and go like these bugs.
And most of them we haven't found. We just found the ones that got trapped in oil somewhere or got stuck in a rock or were done. There are probably thousands and thousands of dinosaurs we have never seen their like before. may discover some, may not. They're finding them all the time, and they're brand new dinosaurs. Brand new to us. They've been around millions of years. Kind of died off.
They wouldn't know they were there.
No, that's true.
We're brand new to them.
That's true.
Yeah, but I don't think they mind us putting them in museums.
No, they don't usually get a vote though either, because they're sort of mute.
I haven't heard any of them complain.
Yeah, they don't
No,
complain.
that's true.
Except Night at the Museum, they did in there.
But two of the most famous dinosaur scientists were Edward Brinker Cope and Othniel Charles Marsh.
But they weren't anywhere near the first. They're both Americans.
I've
They're
heard
both
of them.
Americans.
Wasn't John Chapman Andrews was another one?
Yes, but Cope and Marsh are famous because they were competing with each other.
Oh yeah, I
They
heard
did
that.
some things that weren't particularly nice, like swapping the skull.
Oh
for-
yeah, I heard of that.
Swapping the skull for a dinosaur, and it was called Brontosaurus. And we didn't know until about 1970 that they had the wrong skull.
But that wasn't deliberate on their part. When he
No.
found it, he found this enormous skeleton, enormous bones. And the thing that was closest to it was actually part of the head. But they didn't recognize it, and it looked too small. There's no way this small thing, which is only part of the skull, could possibly have fit on the end of this enormous thing. But there was another much larger skull not far away, the Carnosaurus. It was Carnosaurus. And they said, this must have been the right skull. So all the old pictures you see of dinosaurs with this big, blunt-looking face on it, that's the wrong skull. It belonged to a different dinosaur. But the funniest, these guys were nasty to each other. For example, there was this one long seagoing dinosaur.
Was it the Plesiosaurus?
It was kind of a plesiosaurus, but it wasn't. It was a different kind. And it had a really long tail and a really long neck, just like the plesiosaur does. And when he exhibited it the first time, the guy put the skull on the wrong end.
Not a good day for anybody.
And the other dinosaur guy, the other one of these two, knew that when he saw it and laughed. Instead of just telling him quietly to swap it, he made a big article in the newspaper about how he got the thing on his butt instead of on his neck. And so
I was interested in dinosaurs when I was your age.
70
My son was interested in dinosaurs when he was your
Yeah,
age.
the Victoria era.
The big thing that we always wanted to do was go to the big museums and see the dinosaurs. That's right. Come on in.
No.
It's fun. Those are mine.
of course, the dinosaurs you see in the museums when I was young, they had them in the wrong positions because they always thought the tail was dragging along the ground, these big dinosaurs. But there wasn't. It was sticking. It was actually sticking out lateral to the dinosaur. So all those old pictures of dinosaurs with their tail hanging on the ground was all wrong all these years.
Something about that.
How were they able to determine that? The lack of...
Well, it turns out that you can deduce a lot about a dinosaur, how its physiology is, if you look at the way the tendon inserts and the indentations on the bone are, because the ligaments that attach all those muscles, they make visible marks on the bone. So you could learn from the dinosaur that it did that by looking at the muscle attachments and how the indentations are. So that it was clear that these dinosaurs used the tail almost like a counterweight to their long necks in many cases. Yet there are some indications that the brontosaur, brachiosaur, whatever you want to call it, might have used their tail to reach up, to rear up to be able to get to the things. Like in the first Jurassic Park, it shows them doing that. And the reason why is because there's a particular two or three vertebrae, had a certain part on the tail that in most adult brachiosaur brontosaurs are fused together. And the only way they figure they could have been fused together is if they were laying their weight on it over and over and over and over again.
That's kind of cool.
If you see the first Jurassic Park movie, it shows it rearing up. And that is what they're basing that thought on.
I remember seeing it.
Also, in Jurassic, oh, you got a question. Never mind.
This is something that I've actually learned. The Brachiosaurus also, what's the Brachiosaurus? Yeah, the Brachiosaurus uses its long tail also as a whip.
Yes. In fact, they've been able to prove that it could go we would make the whip cracking sound of a sonic boom. We'd actually be able to prove it.
That's rocket science.
Yeah.
Yeah. A sonic boom is something going faster than the speed of sound. If you can do that with your tail, you're really cracking it.
It was, and the thought is that there wasn't a whole lot of, doesn't appear to be a lot of nerve endings down there, so there was questions about whether they use it as a weapon, like a nunchuck.
Woo! Woo!
I
That would
thought
hurt-
Sonic
that would
Boom
hurt.
was an Italian street fighter.
Okay. But it's also a physical thing.
Don't plan to meet one of those.
Well, once we invent our time machine.
Well, yes.
Oh, that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you sort of explain more about a sonic boom?
Sure.
We need a rocket scientist, don't we?
It sounds like one of our, yeah.
Well, that must be yours, right? I was in management most of the time. So a sonic boom is sort of interesting. It's when an airplane's flying through the air, it's pushing air out of the way. That's one of the ways it goes. And some of that air goes over the wings and lifts it. But if you're going fast enough, then the air can't get in the way. And it starts compressing against the front of the aircraft. And if you go fast enough, and it happens to be faster than the speed of sound, which is sort of a coincidence, it's sort of a coincidence, but if you go faster than the speed of sound, then you're pushing that air faster than it can move naturally, and instead it sort of turns into this bang, this I'm doing real well with this.
I'm watching these hands things. You're getting your real exercise there.
Yeah, I know. It forms this sort of shield, like a wave in front of a boat. If you've been out in a boat and going through the water, and you see the bow wave come up in front of it. It's like that, and it gets compressed so tight that it's actually sort of exploding itself around that aircraft. The pilot usually can't hear very much of it. That's not happening there. What it's doing is pushing all that air at this really high speed down through the atmosphere, down to the ground, and you're hearing that thing as it goes over. So if you were, yes.
Is that because of relativity?
Because of what?
The pilot can't hear it? Is that
No, I think it's just they're where they are. It's
happening behind
it's
it.
happening.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
happening.
Leading
It's
edge,
pushing-
trailing edge kind of
It's
thing.
pushing it around and behind, and that's where it's going.
And that's where the
And if-
vibration is.
Yeah, and if you were flying right under it, you'd hear that sonic boom as long as you were flying.
Okay.
But because we're on the ground, it just passes over us and we get a boom, boom, boom. But it's really a continuous wave of pressure that moves all the way over the surface of the earth as it's going. And it's literally going faster than the speed of sound. It happens. There's too much engineering involved to make that too simple. That's essentially when it's faster than sound can move through the air, and that causes it to compress to the point where it won't give anymore, and it sort of explodes around the back of it. Yes.
I just have something to think about, like if light is the fastest thing in the universe, then technically how did darkness get there first?
Well, that's not rocket science.
That's way more complicated.
That is
but
really complicated, right?
Have
So, go ahead.
ask a
have you heard
caveman.
of redshift? When something is traveling far away from us at a high speed, it appears as a shift in the color. It looks a little bit red, and when it's coming toward you, it looks blue. It's called blue shift. It's coming very fast. And what happens is, what you're really asking is, why is the universe dark? Okay, what really happens is there is enough redshift, enough collision of light particles into the planet that they are reflecting from or whatever. The redshift darkens the light enough that it allows darkness in the universe. Light cannot be you cannot change the speed of light, but you can change the energy of light. And what happens is, because of the redshift against a planet or something else like that, when if a light shines on it, it reflects and comes back. It loses enough energy that at the great distance that we are from that planet, we can no longer see the light from that planet or that star. If you were closer to it, you could see the light. But its energy has fallen so low that it loses its light we can no longer see it when it
And
gets
do you
dark.
understand when she says you no longer can see it, that means your eyes can no longer see it. You do realize, I think, that your eyes only see a little teeny piece of a big spectrum of energy that goes all the way from radar to all the way down to all kinds. In other words, it's part of what they call the electromagnetic spectrum. So if you had eyes that could see all of the spectrum, the universe would be a brighter place.
And there may be, if there are other intelligent beings in other parts of the universe, they may be able to see parts of the light that we don't.
In fact, if you could see them all, what you'd see is the universe is multicolored.
Yeah.
It would be the whole spectrum.
And probably a few more that we've never even discovered